Right, well, I'm glad you all are quietly contemplating what just happened. First episode of the Rainmaker. I know, deep thoughts in here. There's a lot to unpack. So let's bring out the producer and also the stars of the Rainmaker. First up, he's the EP and showrunner of the show, Michael Seitzman. Next up, he plays Rudy on the show, Milo, Callahan. She's Bruiser, Jocelyn Bruiser Stone, Lana. Next up is Sarah playing on the show, Madison. And finally, we can't forget Jack himself, DJ Bird. So they all just saw the first episode, so they're all contemplating now where things go from here. Nice little twist at the end of episode 1, as there always seems to be, Michael. Take us back. This has been a long journey for this show to make it, but how did you first start thinking, maybe I want to take this Grisham book and turn it into a series?
Well, I love the book. I've always loved the book. I got it when it first came out in the 90s, 94, 5, something like that. And it stuck with me, and then about 8 years ago, I thought maybe this could be a show. And I was in a deal at ABC Studios at the time, and we ended up selling it to CBS. And I wrote it. It did not go to series, which is often what happens during the development cycle. And then a few years after that, I had another idea for it, which was a different take and a different incarnation, and sold that to Hulu. Put together a writer's room, generated a bunch of scripts. Then the merger happened, and that did move forward. And then it just, as they say, a winner is just a loser who tried one more time, And so I tried one more time, and this ended up being the version it wanted to be. It was with the cast it wanted to be with, and the writers that it wanted to be with, and we put together a production that felt like this was the one it always wanted to be.
Yeah, it rained finally for you.
Finally made it rain.
Yes.
But thoughts in sort of updating this, obviously, like you mentioned, the book took place in the 90s. There was a film at one point, but updating it for current times. So, what were some of your early thoughts? And okay, how are we going to adapt this to TV?
I mean, for starters, you have to add cell phones to the internet. Already, you're going to update it just given that some of that figures into problem solving in the show. But from a story perspective, the original had a sort of a supervillain corporation was a insurance company that wasn't covering a bone marrow transplant, and the patient died and his mother sued. But we needed something that was going to have legs that would take us through the whole season, and so that meant multiple villains. It meant some more danger because I felt like the show wanted to be thriller, drama, and comedy, so that you could sort of fit it all sometimes in the same moment, but that the tone would be somewhat elastic so that you can accommodate all of that. And I think that demanded that you have some more characters, that you have some more villains. And so in updating it, I think it was more about updating it for the form, which is 10 episodes or more, than it was about for the time.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we've been saying has been missing a bit from TV lately. There's a lot of dark shows, a lot of dark mysteries, but not a lot of shows that tell those kind of stories, but also infuse some humor, a lot of character, a lot of stories within stories. Is there sort of an appetite to kind of go back to those kind of shows that we loved in the 90s and 2000s?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the time we ask ourselves when we're creating something, what is the promise for the audience? What are you promising? And different shows promise different things. Some of them are going to promise horror, scares. Some of them are going to promise laughs. Some of them are going to promise, poignant or deeply important, but we wanted to promise fun. We wanted the show to give you kind of a lot in terms of characters, in terms of story, in terms of an adventure. But it should all add up to, it's going to be a real ride for you. It's going to be really fun with a lot of twists and turns, what we call reversals. Character takes a couple steps forward, gets knocked back a few steps, that you can go on that journey and problem solve with the characters.
And then from the beginning, of course, Milo, that's your character's journey. A few steps forward, a few steps back. So let's talk about, first off, this is your first lead TV role, so no pressure.
None felt.
Talk a little bit about how you sort of first heard about the project, when you first read it, what did you think?
Yeah, it kind of came to me very naturally. Like, I've just been doing a lot of press with John, and he was talking about, well, I got the offer through and I read it, and that was not my experience. Like, I really had to get in the ring for it. It was, Michael had written 10 scripts, so I managed to read them. I thought it was a really special iteration of some quite iconic IP, and I wanted to go on that journey, so I put a bunch of tapes down. We met and had a couple of conversations, and then I got it, and then it became about doing it justice.
So since you have inhabited Rudy for a while, how would you describe this character? What makes him tick in your mind?
For me, from the beginning, and I think what really connected me with the source material when I was auditioning was I was helping some friends. It kind of went around London. It went around the audition circuit, and I was helping some friends tape, and I was watching them tape thinking, no, that's not how you do it. And because for me, it was always about the human element of, he's a kid, he's a young man, and he's going on a journey, and he's got his heart in the right place, and he's trying to do the right thing. And I resonated with that in my life, and the legal elements and the thrill and the skills in rhetoric and all of those things that sit above that, for me, did sit above and stand on the shoulders of a really beautiful human story that Michael had written, which is about a lover and a son and a brother, and that was my in.
Anyway, he's young, but he's also impulsive and idealistic. I mean, all the character traits of a young person. How much could you relate to some of his choices, in particular in his first episode that everyone saw?
Yeah, pretty well. He has the arrogance of youth, I think, and what he lacks is the weight of experience. And within that arrogance of youth, kids make choices and they make mistakes. And I would say the impulsive element is probably what separates us slightly, but definitely I would aspire to make those decisions and to stand up for myself and the people around me the way that I think Michael wrote Rudy.
And then obviously he walks into Bruiser's office. So, Lana, tell us a little bit about what drew you to this character, and how would you describe her?
Well, I was literally in the middle of a hurricane when this project came across, and I was in flight. I was flying to Puerto Rico during a really scary storm, appropriate on some level. And
you would say bruising storm.
A bruising storm.
Yeah.
And I read the script and I just devoured it. I loved, I think I read 2 episodes in the air, and I fell in love with it immediately. And my audition, I think, was like 5 hours later. So it all happened very quickly for me. I read for Michael and other producers and execs, and I think my audition was a little stop and go because of the bad reception. So we did it again, and it just kind of, next thing you know, I'm playing Bruiser. I love Bruiser for so many reasons. I love that she is one of the boys, she's a woman in a man's world, knowing that she's one of the boys and has grew up around men. She has a leg up, so she knows how to get what she wants from them, which is fun. But she's also like a great mentor and a teacher and a coach and sort of a, let's say, big sister to Rudy, but has like these maternal instincts with him as well. She, has a little bit of a secret life, which we'll see, and she has a father who's incarcerated, and that relationship is complicated. But I love that it's just really like her family dynamic is her and her father, and that really intrigued me. to learn more about their backstory, and it is quite developed in the first season. So, yeah, I was on board right from the get-go.
Is there an angle of Bruiser that you enjoyed playing? More sort of sharp elbows moments, or what kind of drew you to some of the fun elements?
I mean, she says things that I don't think I would ever say. Which, so I love the sass in her. I love that she's a ballsy broad. I love that she can walk around in her office in her bra, and she's super unapologetic. And you know, poor Rudy comes in and sees it all. And, but she's just, I don't know. I love how free she is. She's a freedom to her that is a joy to play.
And how would you describe sort of the dynamic between Bruiser and Rudy, and you know, how that progresses? And you can kind of see now, is she going to regret giving this kid a job? Is she, like, and is he, you know, is he really going to thrive in this environment? How much is he going to learn? There's a lot that you can see develop with these two.
I think when Rudy walks into the office, like, Bruiser has someone to be. Like, she doesn't really have time for this interview, which is also what I love about her. She's always busy doing something. And he's brought in by a dear friend of hers, and as you met, Prince. And I think she already knows that she's going to give this kid a chance. I think she's, like, the firm is in a place where they can do that. It's pretty much just Deck and Bruiser running the show. So when Rudy walks in, it's like, oh yeah, this is great. We can use a kid like this. He's smart. He sort of fits the profile of what we need and looking for.
Very handsome.
And yeah.
Yeah,
And so it's just like it's an easy decision for her. And then I think throughout this season, he's a defiant character. I mean, he really kind of pushes back quite a bit, and that does frustrate her in moments. But I think she likes his chutzpah, his spunk, his sort of arrogance a little bit. I think she sees herself in him quite a bit. And what really aligns them is their moral compass. I think that's like what, a friend of mine once said, if we share the same values, it doesn't matter how different we can be or wherever we come from, but if our values are aligned, we can be friends forever. And I see that with Rudy and Bruiser. Their values are aligned, so they have a long relationship ahead of them.
I think she really liked Rudy with the blood on the little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I like that he can take a punch.
I see you.
Bruiser got her name Bruiser for a reason. He can take punches and throw.
Well, Madison, let's talk about, obviously Sarah's sort of in the middle of all this now, and you can see already sort of how torn she's going to be between Rudy and her career, and the fact that she seems really good at her job too, and has real ambition. So that must have been kind of interesting to play. Talk a little bit about getting into this gig and what you also like about this character.
Yeah, I mean, the most exciting thing about Sarah was I think she's only in about a sentence or two in the book by John Grisham, so I didn't really have source material to rely on. I was sort of able to take Sarah and figure out where I wanted to go with her, but that wasn't without the help of Michael wrote such a great arc, which you guys really just saw a taste of Sarah. I will say what made me most excited about this project was the journey that she goes on from the first episode all the way through 10 episodes. She has a full transformation. And she starts so naive in the world of law. She's ambitious, she's whip smart, she can make anyone in a room feel comfortable, which is also, I think that's her greatest weapon at the same time. And listen, the world of law beats her down a bit, but she doesn't let it take her there. So, but it's funny, when all this came about, I think I was in such an interesting place trying to figure out what roles I wanted to take. As women, as we get older, you try to figure out where you fit in, and this came at such an important time in my life. I was so nervous to jump into a legal role. I actually think the only reason, maybe it's the reason I did get it, maybe it's the reason I didn't get it. In my producer session with Michael for the first time, I could not say the law firm. I kept saying, what did I say, Brindley Tit? Tinley Britt.
Brinley Tits. That's
He was Brinley Tit. So yeah, we worked for Brinley Tit. And either I like charmed his pants off, or sometimes I'm like, how did I get here? But no, that was from the beginning. It was always a challenge for me. But it was honestly, like, I feel like I walked off set a completely different person. So it was a great experience.
You mentioned how Sarah evolves through the season, but what do you think in your mind? What is most important to her? What's driving her?
You know, I think this is an interesting show where people make a lot of morally gray decisions, which I think is also so beautiful as an audience member to watch and make your own opinions. And I think she finds herself in that mess quite a bit, but more than anything, I think she's on a journey to find herself. I think she's on a journey to learn how to take up space, especially in such a male I mean, listen, I love all the men in our show. We got Mr. John Slattery. We've got some powerhouses, you know. So it's I think she's learning where she fits in and how to take up space. And I think she makes some questionable choices, but that's always, she's trying to follow herself more than anything.
Everyone makes questionable choices on this show, right? That's part of the fun of watching the Rainmaker. Well, PJ, let's talk about
Mike, let's get into it. Let's just do it. This is me and you now, buddy.
Yes.
We're bookending the whole
Mono. Let's go.
variety. Let's go.
Let's get to the hard question.
Yeah.
So, Deck.
Deck is here. First of all, thanks for coming, everybody. I know it's 1 o'clock on a Friday. It's never lost on us that you're here. We genuinely appreciate it, so thank you. Mike, what the hell do you want now?
Thursday. We're all here.
Oh, it's Thursday. That's right. Thanks. Tomorrow, Friday's a big day. Is our big day tomorrow night? Yes.
But to check out the premiere.
Yes.
So, talk a little bit about Deck. So, first off, the standard question of, you read the script, what you think of the character, and what kind of drew you to the idea of let's have some fun with this guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I found out about it because my agent heard, like, there's something going through the grapevine that they're looking for a PJ Byrne type character. I'm like, wait, that's me. I'm PJ Byrne. I can do this. I can play this part. And I knew the Rainmaker very well. My dad used to travel a lot. He worked for IBM when I was growing up. He used to travel around the world, but he always had a John Grisham book in his hand. And so the fact that this is coming full circle for me, it was his favorite thing to bring on a plane if he couldn't have his family. I knew the movie very well. I feel like Danny DeVito honestly taught me how to act. Taxi is one of my favorite TV shows. The way he can blend comedy and drama, I mean, that's like an acting school to watch that show. I love shows from that period. I love MASH. That's also a genre of, how comedy and drama just live simultaneously. I love to live in that world. This part was like right down the middle for me, so I loved it. And then also, I've worked with Michael before. So I always say it all the time, if you have a chance to work with friends, is the best way to go to work. He gave me the greatest advice about the character. He goes, look, I wrote this. He goes, Deck is the friend everybody needs. He's the friend that everybody needs. So the way I looked at that character was, I would be the greatest chief of staff. I would be the greatest assistant coach. I'm married to the coach's life. I'm married to the president's life. And in this case, I'm married to the law and my friend Bruiser, who's our coach, and my other assistant coach, in Rudy.
Yeah, and he could be like one of those down in his life because he hasn't been able to pass the bar, and it could be one of those, but he still has such a optimistic or at least upbeat view on what he's doing, and he gets a thrill out of what he's doing. And there's some joy to watching him in those scenes.
He's completely a guy who I think lives in the moment, and he's not afraid of things. He's just sort of curious by people, by life. He is so not afraid to bend the law. He's so not afraid to step in front of a bus for Bruiser or Rudy, or honestly for his clients. So, and I think he appreciates being an ambulance chaser. It's kind of more interesting than just doing white collar crime all the time. I think he's fascinated by that and people and just the world.
Well, and also this character plays an important role in sort of, interacting with all these other characters on the show. And so for character development, we learn a lot about these other folks by their interaction with Deck, and then ergo, we also learn a lot more about Deck. So he's kind of a pivotal part of all this.
Yeah, I think I think you can see, he judges your humanity. You can tell if Deck's down with someone, they're a good person, you know? And Deck is also down with food. Deck loves a meal. He loves to fill the belly. And it was a critical thing, honestly, for me, because I have a lot of friends who own restaurants, and I wanted to make sure that everything that we eat in the show is actually from a real restaurant from Charleston, South Carolina. So they flew out all the wrappings and all the things, so everything I'm eating is a legit restaurant that you should go visit if you're in Charleston, South Carolina. You're welcome, Charleston.
That is pretty cool, and I can tell. So yeah, you're a little bit of a foodie. You kind of
A huge foodie. No, my God, he's a massive foodie. He wants to feed everyone. Maybe that's my Italian roots. Just want to eat quality food and feed the world.
Yeah.
Feed the world.
And again, that's kind of like you, PJ, right?
It is. I feel like I'm very similar to this guy. Yes, for sure. I'm here to help everyone. So I'll do the line outside. If you have any questions or thoughts, I'll help you along the way.
Any legal questions you have, PJ will help you.
Definitely don't hire me. Get a real lawyer. That's my final thing.
Michael, this seems like a fun cast. I mean, talk a little bit more about bringing them all together, and also we should talk about John Slattery, who unfortunately is not here today, but obviously brings quite a bit of heft.
Yes, he
to this
does.
too.
You know, when you're casting, it's always a bit of a blind date. You know, you've met, so it's not quite a blind date. But you're casting first for, are they great actors? Are they right for the role? But the thing that you don't know is whether they're all going to become a family, which is what kind of, you know, you want to happen in a show. We're all together for 6 months making it. And I really can honestly say I couldn't possibly imagine a better experience than being with these guys every day. You know, it's been very, very special. We like each other. We all spend a lot of time together. We don't seem to get sick of each other yet. Yeah, it's been quite terrific. And they're each just perfect for their roles, you know, and commit all the time. You know, just full commitment, full body contact all the time.
No, it's. I can tell you're having a lot of fun acting opposite each other too. You know, for example, Milo, like that early scene with John Slattery, where he's sort of tearing into you, but you're sort of tearing back at him. That looked like that was a lot of fun to play.
That was a great moment. That was my first day working with John, and I remember. I mean, John, God love him, it's just like the best. I have a lot of time for him. He doesn't shy away from telling you whether he thinks you're any good on the day or not. Which is like a real moment when John Slattery is looking at you and he goes, I just don't think you're very good. And I'm like, oh God, okay, I gotta get better then. Like, what do you want me to do? And that day was like, he came up to me beforehand. We ran it once, and then I said, any thoughts? I was quite nervous, and he went, just stay loose, buddy. Just stay loose. And we just stayed loose, and it felt really good.
And Madison, that fry moment, the fry of the floor moment, talk about that.
Yeah, that was one of those. I think everyone had the same reaction when you read it on the page for the first time, and I think we really wanted to pull it off in person too. And so I think a big part of that was like playing with the space. And I mean, and John, he's a legend. Like it was, I think I was very lucky to be able to, most of my stuff throughout the show is with Mr. Slattery, and we just had a great time together. And he really is, he's one of those actors that you just sort of sit across and just kind of play. And that was kind of what we got to do when we jumped into the French fry scene. And I play as a strange one, but we did, you know, it was like we just kind of sat in this space, and he's really good at playing an asshole, and that's just kind of what we did, and we just played with the space, and that was always one of my favorite scenes from the first episode. Love him.
Yeah, no, he is obviously, we've watched him through the years. I mean, sweet guy, but like plays asshole very well. That was a nice casting.
Yeah, he's kind of perfect for the role. You know, Grisham writes a lot of these characters, which are kind of the lines of the corporate kind of characters, and we've seen over the years they've been played by Gene Hackman, you know, by Donald Sutherland, by John Boyd in the case of Leo Drummond, and what I love that John does in his books is he creates a real morality play that's present, and he also gives you characters who clearly made decisions in their own morality play before the story ever started, and these characters very often are morally compromised by the time we meet them, which I think, for John, I think he really embraced that this is a character who, there's a line in the movie, and I think it's in the book too, which is, somebody asks, or Rudy asks Leo, do you even remember the first time you sold out? And he really doesn't. But the idea for Sarah was, what if we took this character Sarah, who, as Madison said, is only mentioned briefly in backstory in the book, just it's Rudy's ex-girlfriend. And what if we brought her to the front story? And what if her story is the story of the first time you sold out? You know what I mean? And so we got to see a little bit of what John's character had gone through in backstory, but we watched it happen in real time over the course of the season. And so I think what John gives us is a glimpse of how that can turn you into a titan, but also how it can darken your soul, And I think what we watch in Sarah is almost a time machine for him, and he sees that in her. I can make her in my image.
Speaking of Grisham, what conversations are like with him, and how much did you talk to him as you worked on this over 8 years?
Yeah, he's exceedingly gracious. I mean, he's kind of everything you want him to be. They say don't meet your heroes, but I remember reading an interview with Sean Penn once where he was describing Clint Eastwood as the least disappointing hero he'd ever met, which I thought was a really interesting way of describing it. John Grisham is like that. It's like he's just not disappointing at all. He's very, he's been doing this for so long. I don't know if you know how successful John is, but he's had nearly 50 #1 best-selling novels in a row. He's the single most successful author in history. There's nobody comes close. Nobody. Not Stephen King, and I'm not saying, I'm not talking about, there are a lot of wonderful writers. Stephen King's one of my favorite authors. I'm just saying in terms of success, the sales are dazzling. So he really doesn't need us. He doesn't need the show, and I got to see him in New York, and he was lovely, and he said, I pitched him what I wanted to do, and he said, I've had my fun with these characters, now it looks like it's time for you to have fun with them. That was the nice thing.
That's nice. And then make sure the check clears.
Yeah. He doesn't do it for free. But and then he really liked the show. He watched. I got a note from him after the second episode when he watched it, and then a lovely letter from him after he watched the finale. And he said he became so entertained that he started to forget which parts he wrote and which parts were our invention. Which I don't know if you can ask for higher praise from him.
Yeah, no, that's great. Anyone on the cast, were you like big Grisham fans beforehand, or did you go back and maybe read some, or assume you all kind of went back and paged through Rainmaker just to kind of see, and Madison's like, where's my character? I can't find her. But
I think I was the only one who didn't read the book. Oops. Also, no, but at the same time, I actually now I'm like, I think I would go back and I would like to read it now that this is closed, the chapter's over, But at the same time, I just didn't want to get in my head about what created, since Sarah's quite literally in 2 sentences. I actually made Milo read them to me on the last day.
Yeah, how about the rest of you? Because there's always, sometimes you do want to read the source material or watch a previous production, like the movie, but sometimes you don't because this is its own thing. Where do you guys fall?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I did know about Grisham because my dad, God bless him, but I think I consciously try to watch it peripherally, if you will. When I read it, I'm just reading it very lightly. When I watch Danny DeVito do it, it's just very lightly because I don't want to have a crutch. I want to go, what would PJ do in this moment? Or I don't want to think what Danny would do, or how did I envision that character way back when. I just want to be purely creative and be with my scene partners and just see what comes from that moment.
I enjoyed the read. I haven't read a lot of Grisham. In fact, I've only read the Rainmaker. I remember the trailer for the film back in the 90s, and I loved Danny DeVito as well from Taxi, so I was like, oh God, that's gonna be good. Who's that young kid? But I waited until I booked the role, and then I started reading the novel and watched the film several times. And I was, obviously Bruiser's a man in the novel, so it's very different, but I feel like I was able to sort of pull a few things that could help me as Bruiser. But like with Sarah's character, there was a lot more freedom. creating Bruiser along with, Michael, and just having conversations about the character. But I really do feel that Bruiser is in my back pocket. Like, I read the audition, like, I had 4 hours, if that, to even, prepare. And so I pretty much read off the page, and she just felt like she was in me. And I would say out of all the characters I've ever portrayed, this one feels the closest to home.
And how about you? Were the threads from the original source material that you particularly took for your portrayal?
I read it and I watched the film. I think our story really has all the heart and soul of John's original work, but it becomes a departure as we go along. For me, it's like I think I said the other day when we were doing something, and I said it's like old friends going on a new adventure, and you stand on the shoulders of giants when you take on IP like this, and to follow to do a role that an actor like Matt Damon has portrayed is like a real honor and a privilege, and I think it's important to honor and pay attention to what's come before you. In terms of the work, I think Michael wrote again 10 really tight, beautifully crafted scripts, and I really think that was the compass. It was Michael being there with us and being there on the day, and so yeah, I think that we all, bar Milo, who clearly just decided not to play. But I think we all kind of honoured that and then took it in a new direction.
So for the two of you, for you and Madison, so is this couple can they make it work? Is there a world where this could be a thing?
We need to see how it ends.
You have a long way to go.
A lot happens, guys.
It's an
Hands up with
action.
Jeff. Hands up with Jeff.
Everyone is up with that.
Exactly. That's season 2.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what you guys are most excited for people to see as the episodes unfurl. Anything in particular that you really enjoyed shooting that you can't wait for people to see on the show? Lana?
I mean, honestly, I love every single character and the people portraying these characters. Honest to God, I had so much fun. We became a family, and so to me, that always resonates on film. When people genuinely like each other and have fun, it's like the cast of Friends, right?
Yeah.
That shows a huge success because everyone really loved each other. And I think that's critical to have. And we're so fortunate that we genuinely enjoy hanging out. We have a group chat, text chain,
Yes.
whatever it's called. We all we check in and wish each other happy birthday when it's our birthdays. And so I just hope that all of you fall in love with all the characters as much as I have, because I'm a fan of the show and the people who play these characters. And I know that's going to transmit. So you guys are really lucky too that you have 9 more episodes ahead of you, and enjoy.
Milo, tell us about the ride. What should they brace for?
I don't think I can put it any better than that. I think again, coming back to Michael's scripts, these are deep.
You guys are being so nice.
They don't want you to kill them all.
Well, it starts with the writing. So.
Yeah. I'm never going to do that.
I think they're real characters and real relationships, and I'm excited for people to see where Rudy and Sarah go. I'm excited, for Rudy and Dex relations to develop, Rudy and Bruiser, and all of this interpersonal conversation that carries on throughout the series, because it really is like a love story, but between everybody, and I think that's what's special.
Madison, how about you? What are you excited for people to see?
I also want to touch on the people who aren't here, who I think, this goes back to Michael. He just did such a great job, getting together such a great group of people. I mean, Karen, her performance as Dot Black is just,
Oh my god.
it's my favorite. Robin Cara, who plays Kelly. We've got
Dan Fogler.
Dan Fogler. We have such an incredible cast and good people, and I think, we all made the show, but some of their performances are some of my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't even met Jackie LaMancha yet. He's a huge part of the story. She enters in episode 2. If you read the book, she's the whistleblower in the book. We made a different meal out of that character. And Melvin is a new character that was not in the book, who is we used to talk about it in the writer's room as being this kind of, for a long time, this story is like a bear in the woods outside the village of the story, making mayhem and mischief everywhere he goes, until finally he's kind of into the main body of the story. But he's a really fun character to watch. And yes, Cameron Bryson, who plays God, is breathtaking, and Wade, who plays Brad, you only see in this episode in the conference room scene, you know, where the tete-a-tete between Rudy and Leo, you see him sitting there. You haven't really met him yet, but he's another huge part of the show. He's a series regular.
There you go. You have some homework to do. PJ, why don't you bring us home? What are you excited about?
Well, I am really excited if you actually see Dan Fogler play the bad guy, because he says it the best way. He goes, I'm always the person running from the bad guy. And then to have someone with like natural comedic instincts take over a bad guy is always a fascinating thing for me to watch, because I think they look at characters differently. And people who play, I think, great bad guys are people who think what they're doing is completely right. That is my version of how the world should be, and I'm going to try to change it. And he, buys into that completely. And just to give kudos to Michael again, it's very rare though that Michael, I love you so much. Don't murder me. Don't murder me. He's really good about giving us all the full 10 episodes. So as an actor or an actress, it's really, you can really define your character arc and make real choices along the way, as opposed to just getting the script. Sometimes I have friends who get it like the week before and like, oh my God, what decision do I make? And you're like, I wish I made that decision in episode 6, but you can really, you can make a really nice journey. So the fact that you get to see a full journey that we all get to choose and go on. And finally, as an actor, and this is why I love doing this show in particular, I say I work with friends all the time. Honestly, there were so many times, because we became so close, that there was no difference between when they said action or cut that I felt any different. It was just like, I love these people so much, there's no difference between action and cut, and hopefully you see that on the screen.
I mean, this is how acrobatic these guys are. The line where PJ says, "Are you trying to give me a boner?" You know that line. Well, it's not in the script. It was PJ saying they're doing the scene, and I'm behind the camera, and PJ yells out, "Michael, I need something funnier here. I need something funnier." And I yelled out something, and then he goes, "I need another." And I just yelled out, "Are you trying to give me a boner?" And he cracked up. I mean, I have the dailies of him, laughing. He goes, "Okay." And then he gets very serious. He goes, "But I'm going to say it very serious." He goes, "Are you trying to give me a boner?"
Well, that's the perfect thing of working with a friend. So I like, and also we have a relationship, so I'll come with some stuff. I'm like, oh, there's some funny that can happen here. And then he'll call me. He's like, I think that we can make this funnier. But the sweet spot always is on the day. If I come with something that triggers something in Michael, then he's something that triggers something in me. And like, that's the beautiful magic that you get. And I can't believe that it's going to land on a boner, but that was magical. It was a boner for everyone.
I smell a dead spill.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And you're all in it.
That's right.
All right, well, the Rainmaker premieres August 15. Wait, that's tomorrow.